Hello, everyone. Nice to see you here. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Kladi from Printmysoul, and next to me in California, so next to me in another, in the same time but a different space, is Jesús Ramirez. Hi, Jesús. How's it going?
Hey, Claudia. Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing? It's so awesome to be here. Wait a minute. Are you on my left or my right? Let us know in the
Yeah.
chat. First of all, let us know in the chat if you can hear us, if you can hear both of us, and let me know if she's on my left or my right, because I can hear you, but I can't see you right now, Claudia.
Yes. So I can see so many familiar faces in the chat. My mom is giving compliment to Steve Festus. She doesn't know, Steve, that we practice Italian all the time. So first of all, hi, Steve. Nice to see you. Hi, Mom. I can see so many other familiar faces. Ferry Utuomo is here. Jutirmia and Valdoyer, Sam, RB. What's up? We're missing Alberto RB with our what's up. Steve is asking if I have anything interesting or which things I have interesting to show today in Italian. Perfect in Italian, Steve. Love. We need to definitely add more Italian in this show as well.
Yeah, so
Michelle
I'm looking in.
Fournier.
Oh, sorry for that. I'm looking in the chat, and it looks like people can hear us. That's good. And it says that Claudia's on the left and Jesus on the right. Cool, got it.
I can see us. He doesn't. So I have a little bit of an advantage here. So make sure to help Jesus out throughout the stream. Ariana, Lena, On Point, Michelle Fournier, thank you so much for joining us. Laura Staneva is in the house as well. Lena Gonzalez, thank you so much for joining us here. So this is our first episode, hopefully of many. I don't know. We're going to see if you guys enjoy this stream today, in which me and Jesus are gonna be reworking your design. So let me introduce real quick the show, and I'm gonna jump right away into my desktop. And you better tell Jesus where is at today, and let me jump into the right page. Here it is. So if you actually head into iamcladi.com/rework it, you'll be able to apply and submit your artwork in order to have it featured during this stream. Jesus, can you tell us a little bit more of how the form works? What are we looking for? How the stream works?
Yeah, so this stream obviously, or this show is called Rework It, as you guys already know. And Claudia and I will be looking at your Photoshop files, InDesign files, Illustrator files, and we'll try to give you some tips and tricks to improve them based on our experience. And you can go to the page that Claudia just mentioned so that you can submit your work. And then unfortunately, we can't look at everybody's work, but we'll try to pick something
We'll
that we
try. Of
believe.
course, we'll try.
I don't know. Also, really big shout outs on the chat. We have Flynn Tracy, who runs the Adobe Lives out of Australia.
Hi,
Good to see you,
Flynn.
Flynn. Yeah, good to see you, Flynn. Haven't seen you in a while, man. Hope to see you back in the Bay Area soon. We got Samantha on the chat. Hey, Sam, how's it going? Good to see you as well.
Hi, Sam. Hope you're well. Nice to see you. So, as we were saying, this is the landing page where you can submit your artwork. All you have to do is to click on the blue button and make sure that you submit your email. Make sure you have the right to your design so we can use it and share it with the world. And of course, we're going to reveal pretty soon the stars of today. Me and Jesus have handpicked two of you, and I can see already that you are in the chat present with us, and we're gonna be playing around and rework your design to see all the potential that you already have there. And maybe you just have to practice a little more, spending a little more time, maybe get inspired. Or sometimes when I hear other people's opinion, I actually can decide to be even more sure of my own choices, and that can happen
Hmm.
today as well. So we are here to
Definitely.
give you inspiration, definitely to have a ton of fun together during this hour with me and Jesus. So this is the form. You can submit your work, you can ask questions. I actually have some questions from the amazing artists that share their work, and we look forward to see your submission in order to have your artwork featured during this fantastic Adobe Live. And I want to start by the first guest, and I have it right here. So I don't know if you have the page open, Jesus, as well. Maybe we can jump on your computer. Otherwise, we can watch it from mine. And I can already share with everyone that today, artist, the first one of the two, is Ferry Utuomo that I can see here in chat. So
Hey, Barry.
make sure, hi Ferry. Make sure to head on behance.net/Ferry Utuomo in order to see his work. But why don't we see Jesus Ramirez's computer? So, Jesus, do you have Ferry work open, his submission?
Yes, I have it open right here. So let
So,
me know
let
when
me
you're.
jump into it right away. Here we are. So, first of all, well done, Ferry.
Yeah. So this is the Photoshop file that you sent in, Ferry. I haven't changed it at all. I just opened it up, and we're gonna look at what you did here. So first of all, your question was basically that you wanted to figure out how to better light the subject in the composite. So I'll go ahead and give you a couple tips. First of all, I want to mention a couple fantastic things that you did correctly that I think a lot of people could learn from. So I see that you have all these different layers, and I'll just disable them for now. But I want to bring attention to a couple things that you did. First of all, you included a luminosity check layer, which is fantastic. This is something that I always do. I always create a black and white adjustment layer on top of everything else so that I can see the luminosity of the composite and make the appropriate tonal adjustments so that everything in the scene matches as best as possible. So I see that you did that. You also did a saturation map, which is, again, another fantastic technique. Basically, a saturation map allows you to see how much saturation there is in an image. And the way that you create a saturation map is by using a selective color adjustment layer and then go to all the different colors. So red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, magenta, and bring the black to -100. And then you go into the whites, neutrals, and blacks and set it to +100. And what happens then is that everything that is bright has a lot of saturation, and everything that is dark does not have saturation. So it's a way of seeing how much saturation there is in the scene. And you apply this layer, and I think you did a great job matching the saturation.
Sus, I'm going to stop you a second because we have a question in the chat. And
Yeah.
I know that probably was just for Steve, but I think that is really interesting. I would like to know where everyone is from. And let me go back to the chat because there were a few questions. So Michelle Fournier was asking, how many languages do you speak to Steve? So Steve, I'm very curious. I definitely know that you speak English and Italian, but I want to know how many languages do you guys know? I personally speak 4 different languages. Jesus is 3, I believe.
Well, two, really, and 2.5. But if you include programming languages, then 5.
Okay. Okay, now let's stick to actual not programming languages. Let us know in the chat how many languages do you speak. I'm super curious. And of course, feel free to tell us where you're tuning in from. Probably we kind of take it for granted that you guys already know us. My name is Kladi. I'm an Italian designer, and I'm currently based in Manchester, UK, where it's 11 p.m. And Jesus, where are you based right now?
I am in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Fantastic. Let me see if we have any question in the chat. And of course, I wanted to remind everyone, as I always say, anytime that I have the wonderful opportunity of being here on Adobe Live, this is a safe space. So make sure to ask questions, get comfortable, and really ask me and Jesus, take this opportunity in order to learn more about this fantastic Adobe app, ask Jesus questions about how to use the tool. Of course, we are using those amazing artists. And as I said, we're going to start with Ferry in order to explore an artwork in Photoshop. Afterwards, we have an artwork in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to be here while Jesus work, and then I'm going to switch back, and Jesus is going to have a look at the chat while I look in Illustrator. But please make sure to ask question regarding design, freelance, anything that is relevant. Use this space in order to learn together. And I can see Caio Moreira saying, hi, Kladi and Jesus. First time watching you here in the chat. I jumped from my bed when I saw Kladi was here. Woohoo, Caio, nice to see you. Thank you so much. That's super, super sweet.
And we
Let,
also have the one and only Chris Converse in the chat. Hey Chris, how's it going?
Hi, Chris. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. That's fantastic. And we're having some, I don't know if you can see the chat with the languages. We have many multilingual, is that even a word? Multilingual?
Yeah.
Yeah, multilingual um, people here in the chat. Keith, nice to see you. I didn't see you before. Keith, 1.25 languages. Spanglish is weak. Jyotirmia, two languages, English and Hindi. That's very cool. Can you see any others, Sus?
Flynn only speaks one and he's in Sydney. So hey Flynn, we gotta teach you Spanish or Italian or something, man.
So Steve knows a
Awesome.
few lines of Salish, native Canadian. Oh, I didn't know
Ooh,
about that.
super cool. Super cool, Steve. Awesome. Oh, by the way, thank you, Ferry, for waking up so early. It's 5 a.m. where you're at, and we're working on your composite. So first of all, thank you for submitting it. Thank you for waking up early, and thank you for being here.
Chris Converse is saying, are we counting programming languages? Chris, that's what Asus was trying to get away with. It was like really
Yeah.
counting on the programming languages. So Valdair is saying Portuguese, English, and trying Spanish. Super cool. Super cool.
Cool.
Thank you. Let us know. I'm going to keep Laura, English, Spanish, and Bulgarian. I love how international this chat is. Let me know where are you tuning in from because it blows my mind to see there's so many people from all over the world. Mercurial in German and Italian. Oh, so many Italian. Yes. Ciao. Fantastic. Sorry, sis. I know we got to rework.
No worries.
We got to work
We
Ferry.
gotta rework fairies. Yeah. But anyway, we left off with the saturation map again. Really good job, Ferry, on these three check layers. Actually, I didn't talk about this one. You also did one for essentially matching the color and the ambient color in the scene. Again, fantastic work. But you were asking about how to better improve the lighting. So there's a couple of things here that I think you can do to improve the lighting. And first of all, is if you notice on your image here, let me scroll down. You have a lot of layers, which is good. If you notice on the floor, the highlight is on the right hand side. See that? And the shadow is on the left. But the light on your model is coming from the left and the shadow is on the right. So that doesn't really match in the scene. So you need to be careful with that. You need to make sure that once you establish where the light is coming from, you just keep it on that same side. So I'm just gonna flip horizontal, and I'm guessing that one of the reasons that you flip that layer is just so that it wouldn't seem like it's repeating from the top. So you can just move it around and make sure that it doesn't really seem like it's repeating. And then you can just create a layer mask on there. If you hold Alt on Windows option on the Mac and click on the layer mask icon, you create a black layer mask on whatever you selected, and that kind of already looks a little better.
Also,
Also,
before you go forward, I think it would be nice if we can get some incentive from the chat if people spot something, and maybe you can,
Yeah.
while you work, if someone in the chat, because that's pretty much how Discord works as well. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Illustrator or Photoshop or XD Daily Creative Challenge, that then you can pretty much share on the amazing Discord channels after the challenges. And that's an amazing way of getting inspired and inspire other people work. So of course, maybe questions, constructive critiques, and maybe Jesus can tackle what your eyes notice.
Yeah, for sure. Any comments that you have, feel free to leave them in the chat, and we'll be glad to look into them. But anyway, so the next thing that I wanna address here is that you did a good job on creating those highlights. And oh, by the way, one big thing: name your layers, because it'll be a lot easier for me to find the layers if they were not labeled. Layer 9, layer 10. Even if you're working by yourself and nobody will ever open your PSD, if you open it yourself a week or a year later, and you want to make an edit, it's a lot easier to find the layers if they have a name. So please name your layers. But what I was going to say is that you had this layer right here. This layer, you did an excellent job on creating those highlights and shadows to match the scene. My assumption on how you created this, and I could be totally wrong, and let me know in the chat if I am, is that you have this layer and you set it to multiply. And I'm assuming that you were just selecting the color of the image and then painting on that particular section, obviously not with such an ugly brush, with a different brush, maybe with lower opacity and lower flow. But the point is that you are painting on those areas to create the shadows, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that, and you can get some really good results. But in my opinion, you could probably get similar results and much faster if you were to create a new layer, clip it to the layer below like you've been doing, and fill it with 50% gray. If you hold shift and backspace on Windows, that's shift delete on the Mac, under contents you can just select 50% gray and press OK. And what you can now do is change the
Very
blending mode.
saying, yes, that's right.
All right, so yeah, so that was my assumption that's what you did.
And also,
on
as soon as we got a suggestion from RB mentioning that there are shadows on the left picture, which is up on top. So I think we're
Yeah.
going to get into the shadow as well. Thank you so much, RB.
Yep, thank you so much for that. But anyway, so this is going to be a dodge and burn layer, so I'll just call it DMB. And basically what a dodge and burn layer is, it allows you to either dodge an area and make sure that you have midtones selected for range. And dodging simply means making brighter. See that? So now I can make those areas brighter, and I can go into the burn section and make those areas darker. It's not necessarily better than what you were doing, Ferry. I just think that it saves you time. So I really do think that the method that you use is probably better. It just takes a lot more time to do. And but this method here just gives you a whole lot more flexibility, I think. But feel free to do what you were doing before. And if you decide to go with a dodge and burn layer, what you can also do is paint with 50% gray. And the way that you get 50% gray is by having 0 hue, 0 saturation, and for brightness just type in 50, and this will now act like an eraser. See that? So I can quickly come in and erase those areas. Obviously in this stream we don't have a lot of time to.
As soon as we got Tim in the chat, which is like, sick burn.
Nice.
Hi, Tim.
Sick burn.
Tim, how many languages do you speak? I know you definitely speak German. I was going to say, I know you definitely speak Germany when you live in Germany. Speak German and English, but let us know if you know any other language. We are very curious today. Iris is giving us compliments. Say, you look great, guys. Thank you so much. Asus is giving us so many tips. I'm like literally taking notes as you speak.
Nice. But as you can see, right away you can really change the lighting of the scene to match the light source that you have set. Also, and I'm sorry, I forget the person in the chat, but they're right about the shadows. You have to be very careful. Once you set a light source in your composite, you have to stick with it. If you start changing things are going to look unnatural. So what I would recommend.
Before you move forward, Michelle Fournier was asking what regarding what you were doing with the burn, dodge and burn. Is using curves to dodge and burn have the same result? They're using the 50% gray technique, Jesus?
Good question. So that one will probably give you slightly better results. To be frank with you, it's a little harder to set up. If you're an advanced user, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal. If you're just starting out, it might be a little more complex. But basically, what is that Michelle who asked the question?
Yes.
Yeah, what Michelle is saying is you can actually create a curves adjustment layer, clip it to the layer below, and then make it darker. I would set it to luminosity, and then make that layer mask black by clicking on the invert button, and then you can selectively paint with white on the areas that you want to make darker, like so. And then if you wanted to, you can adjust the curves at any point and make your changes that way. Then you would have to create another curves adjustment layer and make it brighter, clip it to the layer below, also make a black layer mask, and then paint with white on that layer mask to reveal the highlights. It essentially gives you the same result, but on 2 separate layers. It does have more control, more flexibility, because you can adjust this at any point after you have set where you want your highlights or shadows. The downside is that if you're starting out, creating 2 curves adjustment layers just may be a little more confusing. But yeah, thank you for that question, Michelle.
And Sam, Sam was sharing an amazing tip. Sam, thank you so much. I think that Sus is gonna agree as well. Sam is saying that he likes to add a little bit of a purple or blue tint in his gray in order to then put it on the multiply shadow and give a little bit more of a warmer shadow. I think that's an absolutely amazing tip, Sam. Thank you so much for sharing. And let us know if you have any other way. That's that's what this stream is about, learning different way of doing similar things, or different direction that your design can take. And also want to say hi to Chad Rolf in the chat, and Manuel Alves, he said hello, love you both. Manuel, we love you back.
Yeah, so regarding what was that Sam? Yeah, so basically to Sam's point, I never really like shadows that are black, so having some sort of color on the shadows is always a good idea. His method is fantastic. Any method really, as long as you add a little bit of color in the shadow. And this is where I gotta say that that in this particular image, Fairy did a good job not having black shadows. They all match the scene, which is fantastic. But unfortunately, they don't match. They match the scene in terms of colors, but they don't match the scene in terms of where the light source is coming from. For example, here you can see that there's some shadows on top. That would mean that the light is down here on the bottom, and it doesn't look like that's the case based on everything else in the scene. So what I would do here is I would just transform his shadow layer and just make it match the scene a little bit better. So maybe something like this, just so that it matches the composite. So that's what I would do. Also, you gotta be really careful, Fairy, because I see here that you used an exposure adjustment layer to match the luminosity of the scene. And I'm assuming that what you did is that you had the luminosity check layer enabled, and then and this is where you gotta name your layers because now I can't find it. And then I'll just make it, I'll make it red so that I see it. And then you started adjusting the exposure to try to make it work. And, that's not bad. You had the right idea, but I think that a much better way of doing that is using either a curves or levels adjustment layer. Curves is a little more advanced. If you're starting out, levels is fine. But notice that with levels, you get 5 points to adjust. With exposure, you only get 1. Well, I mean, you technically get 3, but in reality, you're probably just adjusting the exposure, so it's probably just 1. But with levels, you have a lot more control, so you can, adjust the gamma, adjust the white point, adjust the black point, and you can start getting contrast that really matches the scene and also match the brightness. So that, just really quickly, while talking and explaining it, that probably will look much better than what you had before. So just don't use a global adjustment like exposure, because then you get these really gray areas and the highlights, and it doesn't necessarily look too good. And obviously, the more time that you spend fine tuning the image, the better that you'll make it look, obviously.
Talking of time, we're almost half an hour in. Can you believe it? Time goes so fast.
Wow.
I wanted to know in the chat who has submitted their work yet. And before we keep going, Jesus, I'm just going to jump back into my screen, unless you have your browser open as well with the form. Let me know what you prefer.
No, go ahead and do it on your screen.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to jump back into my screen because I want to share with everyone how to submit your work in order to have it featured on this brand new Rework It with me and Jesus on the wonderful Adobe Live. So if you want to have your artwork featured during our stream and having me or Jesus having a play and maybe give you some suggestion in order to improve your workflow, or maybe sharing different techniques and different way of doing what you're already doing in your graphic design job, or maybe you're just learning, make sure to head to iamkladi.com/reworkit and click on the submit your design form. All you have to do is to fill in some details and submit, and you'll be able to also add your file over here, browse it from the destination folder, and send it over. You can send this at PNG and then we can review it, or then you can send us a PSD, InDesign, or Illustrator file. I think that's what we had so far. And let us know in the chat if you already submitted your work or no. I want to see how many people have submitted their work. We're always extremely excited and thankful. First of all, thankful that you trust us to let us play with your work. But I think he's very excited. I can see Ferry in the chat that he's saying, I note all your feedback for better work in the future. So thank you, Jesus, and thank you, Ferry, for giving us this opportunity to learn how to work better in Adobe Photoshop. So Jesus, do you want to share some more tips in Photoshop? I'm just going to jump back into
Definitely. While you're doing that, I'll give a big shout out to Sean Riken, who's in the chat, who says that, because when I'm looking towards the chat, it looks on the screen like I'm looking at your head and your hair. So, so he said that it looks like I'm checking out your hair. And by the way, Sean is an awesome Photoshop compositor. You can check out his work. Sean, I don't remember what your Instagram is off the top of my head, but I do follow you. So if you want to, you can share your Instagram or your Behance so people can check out your work. He does awesome compositing work. I hosted Sean twice already, once about 2 weeks ago or a week ago, something like that. And he does some amazing composites. So check him out. But anyway, so another quick thing that I wanted to talk about was if you zoom in, you'll notice that you have these problems here with your masks. So it looks like you have a smart object where you did the masking, and that's totally cool. And it looks like you created a black layer so you could see those issues, but you need to be really, really careful. And for areas like that, what you can do is you can select the polygonal lasso tool and then just make, oops, sorry, selected the wrong tool there. That's not the polygonal lasso tool. This is. You can just come in here and make sure that you just get those corners there and fill with black like so that you have better edges. Also, this particular image has a lot of fringing, those white outlines, and you guys probably know I do this all the time. If you go into filter, other, minimum, you'll get this filter that allows you, whoops, I'm hitting all the wrong options as I selected maximum, other, minimum, here we go. And you can contract a mask or you can expand it using the maximum filter, but you just have to figure out a right amount of radius, like maybe a pixel or so in some cases too. And if it's an organic object like a person, select roundness and press OK so that you can push the mask in and you don't see those white edges. But you have to be really, really careful. Also, the edges look really blurry. So what I would do here, Ferry, is under the black and white view on the selected mask workspace, I will increase the contrast, which will make those edges sharper. If you have the time, what I would recommend doing is making a vector mask, since that will give you the straightest, sharpest edges. But even with, making those little adjustments there, I think that the mask improved a lot. You just have to be careful with those corners. Just spend time. You can see here, see that? These corners right here, just spend time going in there with the polygonal lasso tool and make sure that you get those. And working on those little details would really, really make your composite come alive. I know Kladi's gotta rework another piece of art in just a few moments, so I'll talk about one more thing here, and is these flowers here. In my opinion, they're a little too bright for the composite. So what I would do in this case is enable that luminosity check layer that you created, and then using curves or levels, do the same thing that I did earlier with the frame. I would just make sure that things match in terms of luminosity. So if you notice in your composite, the brightest thing in the image is probably the highlight there, which is way, way darker than this flower here. So that necessarily doesn't look too good. So I would just try to match the brightness of the brightest thing to the brightness of the brightest thing in the background, and then adjust the gamma accordingly and adjust the black point. So basically, in case you don't know, on the bottom here, this slider controls how bright the brightest pixel is. By default, the brightest pixel is white. But if I move it to the left, now the brightest pixel will no longer be white. It's now this shade of gray. This point controls the darkest point of the image. By default, of course, it's black. So the darkest point will be black. But if I drag it to the right, now it won't be black. It will be this shade of gray. So now when I make these adjustments, that looks much better and it looks like it fits within the scene. So obviously you can still keep fine-tuning it a bit when you bring back the color to make sure that things look accurately. Also, I will change the blending mode to luminosity, and I'll say one last thing and then you can go with the next one, Kladi. But
it's okay. I'm here chatting with everyone. There was a question regarding the file, but you were in a beautiful flow, so I didn't want to interrupt you. But since we're here and I already did interrupt you, I want to share with everyone, because Sean was asking, is that PNG file or PSD? So depending on the size of your file, if you have any concern on the size of your file, you can just upload a PNG. And then when we go through all your beautiful works and we select we will contact you, because you will provide an email for us to get in touch, so we can contact you and then ask you the working file, and then we can get the Photoshop file from there. So let us know if you have submitted your work. Also, Sean is asking, are you going to Max this year? Jesus, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, we're both going to Max, and I think I talked to Sean about that. I think he said he subscribed to my classes. Both Claudia and I are speaking at Max. I know Claudia's doing a whole lot more work than me. I'm only doing one session on automation in Photoshop. And Claudia, what are you doing at Max?
So I will be doing a session in Adobe InDesign showcasing how to create a print layout, how to go
Mm-hmm.
from pixel to paper. And then I have another wonderful session how to create branded social media in Photoshop, also integrating Illustrator in your workflow. And I'm going to be hosting the amazing Julia Masalska for a wonderful Adobe Live on the news of 2021 for Adobe Spark. So Max this year is going to be hyper mind blowing. You must go on master.adobe.com just to check it out. I mean, of course, you can register to sessions. If you go to my Instagram, which is at I am Kladi, you'll be able also to register right away to my sessions and then browse all the other sessions. But just have a look at the speakers. I mean, there's Gwyneth Paltrow, there is Keanu Reeves. Those are just the one on top of my mind, but they're like,
I just want to say that for the longest time, Keanu Reeves and I were right next to each other because of our last names, Ramirez and Reeves. And then Adobe started adding more people whose last name starts with R. So now I'm super far away from him and I'm annoyed.
but we have the screenshot. We have the screenshot of
but I have a
that.
screenshot. I was telling people, you've made it because when you go to the Adobe Max website and you look at the speaker section, you can click on people's profiles, and Keanu Reeves vaguely mentions The Matrix, which is one of the best movies of all time, one of the most popular movies of all time, at least. And you've made it when you barely mentioned that you were in
like Gwyneth Paltrow, she didn't even know that she was in the Spider-Man movie.
Well, yeah, well, she, yeah.
Let us know in the chat if you are a fan of either of these actors. I'm a big fan of Keanu Reeves and both Gwyneth Paltrow, and let us know if you've seen that. I think that there is a YouTube clip, isn't it, Sus, where I think Gwyneth Paltrow is doing the show. Can you remind? I think did you show me that?
Yeah, so Gwyneth Paltrow is, I think, being interviewed by, I forget the director of Iron Man 1. Somebody in the chat, let me know what his name is. But he tells her, oh, yeah, we were in Spider-Man together. And she's like, I wasn't in Spider-Man. He's like, yeah, you were. We were in Spider-Man. But yeah, let me quickly finish this up because you got to get started on yours, Kladi.
Yes, last thing. I'm sorry, I gotta say this. Adobe Max is free. Sean was saying that in the chat. We forgot to mention it. This year, Adobe Max is free for all. So no excuses. Just tune in. Take a day off. It's definitely worth it.
Or a couple days off. But yeah. So the last thing I wanted to mention is the reason that I've been setting these layers to the luminosity blending mode is because when you make an adjustment with either curves or levels, and I'm going to do with curves here because it'll probably be more obvious, is you inadvertently adjust saturation as well. So I made that extreme adjustment so that you can see. So that's set to normal, and when I change it from normal to luminosity, you'll see the difference. See that? See how much the saturation increases? So the reason that I set my levels adjustment layers when I adjust the luminosity of the image to luminosity, when I adjust the brightness, is so that I don't also change saturation inadvertently. So big tip there for you. Just make sure that you change the blending mode to luminosity. And also, well, actually I said it was going to be the last thing, but I'll show one other thing. If you have a layer selected and you click and drag while holding Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, the image will turn white with this black point. And if I keep going and drag, you'll start seeing that the image will start turning black. That means that when you get to that point, that's when you start creating clipping. In other words, you start losing detail and these parts are completely black. So that could be a good way for you to know how far you're pushing these. So when you're seeing those black areas come up, it means that you're losing detail. Again, that's Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac. And by the way, let us know if you're a Mac user or a PC user. As you guys know, I'm a PC user. So I always try to mention both keyboard shortcuts because I know we have both in the chat.
Fantastic. So
John Fabro, that's right, chat. Thank you so much. John Fabro, that's right.
And also Steve is saying that we have Common is one of the stars too. Yeah, Asus is one of the stars too. No, I'm just joking. Common is definitely super
Definitely
cool.
Not.
Super cool. Michelle is saying PC user,
PC
Jotirmia
users.
PC. I'm gonna have to do that.
PC,
When I was
PC all the way, Sean. That's right.
PC, so I'm actually like taking notes of how many Mac, zero Mac so far.
Yeah.
All the Mac
I,
users sleepy right now.
I actually converted Kladi to a PC user. She's got a brand new PC.
But I'm still doing both. I still got holding on my MacBook here with all the stickers. It's still there. So it looks like only one Mac and all the rest PC.
No, who's the Mac user?
I think Sean.
No, Sean misspelled.
Oh,
He
Mac.
said he used to be.
Used to be a Mac. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he's a PC user now.
Steve Festus and Lavon Hall are on Mac.
Yeah. Okay, so we got two Mac users. Nice.
So Malik says the PCs guys are sexy. Apparently, PC
Yeah,
is
I would agree. I would agree with that.
of course. Kayo PC, Chris Mac user, Chat Rolf Mac. Okay, so we got some Mac user in the house. I was like, come on, like I represent Mac, Asus represent PC, even if I have to admit that I'm also tapping into the wonderful world of custom building your PC. If you ever seen any of my story on Instagram, you probably know that I'm more keen on spending on investing on RGB colors than computer feature. So Sam is a PC user as
That's
well.
right.
Sandra Ferland, both. Yeah, that's another question. Who does use both? Because I'm gonna start using both now. Lavon Hall as a PC for financial apps. Keith
Nice.
Dustin, Microsoft has been not making him happy for the past 2 days. Mercurial is a user, Mac user, PC. So we got I would say like a mixed. What do you think, Asus?
I would say most people are PC users.
Of course. I'm biased. Fantastic, but it's now time to jump back into my screen because I want to introduce you to the second artist of the night. And before doing that, I believe Laura Staneva was asking us a question while as soon as we're working. As Laura was asking, is only tomorrow, is only today or tomorrow is that's gonna happen again? So I know for sure that we have another 2 days for next week, but that's really depend on you. If you want us to keep going, if you really find these useful, make sure to send the artwork and just tune in and we'll be able to review more and more. So hopefully we get a lot of submissions and you guys are interested in learning more with me and Asus so we can keep going. But for now, we're definitely going to be in here on Adobe Live on the 14th and 15th, I believe.
Well, we'll be here tomorrow as well.
And tomorrow, of course,
Yeah.
Tomorrow we have more than 2 guests. So again, depending on the artwork, sometimes can be a feature. I know that I have a fantastic artist today. Some of your work don't need to be reworked. So I'm just going to be there praising them and showing you off. Because if you deserve to be shown off, I'm going to do that. And I mean, everyone's work deserves to be shown off anyway. And Ferry Tuomo, very well done. Ferry was the very first submission as well, so I thought that he had like a double clap also because he kept his attention nice and sharp when we were announcing the show. But then here we have our second artist for tonight, our lovely Jotirmia. Jotirmia has been keeping me company pretty much throughout the entire lockdown. Every time that I was streaming, Jotirmia was there, super dedicated on learning the Adobe apps. And go and check out his Behance portfolio. He's super cool, Jotirmia. I really love your styles. I can really tell that you're really keen in Adobe Illustrator. And that's why I decided to jump in. I'm a big fan of Illustrator as well. Of course, I love all the graphic design Adobe apps. And RB said, come on, people, 139 people in here and only 20 appreciate this. RB, you know that's Jesus' little thing with the likes, isn't it?
That's right.
But I'm gonna
actually no. Well, my thing is with the banana on the toolbar. So make sure that everybody. I forgot to mention it. That you guys add your banana to the toolbar. It was on my toolbar. I just want to make sure that the banana crew is still here. For those of you that don't know, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, last week or the week before when I was doing the Adobe Photoshop Daily Creative Challenges, I was telling people to add the banana to their toolbar, and we started our own little crew, the banana crew. And the first rule of Banana Crew is do not talk about it. The second rule is don't talk about it. But here I am talking about it.
So Misty saying, keep saying file size is too big. Misty, in that case, I would suggest you to save a PNG file, a smaller file, just so we can see your artwork, or take a screenshot and send it over so we can review it. And also something that I will probably have to write into the note, into the form, please name your file with your name. So it's going to be much easier to understand the name of your file and who's the artist. Is going to be much easier for us to email you, get your email right away, get your name, and get in touch with you to say, hey, you're going to be featured on Rework It. So again, we have more artists coming tomorrow. I think there are about 4 different artists, but keep your work coming, because I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on my email to see all the entries coming through. But
yeah, and
right,
so you can definitely send more than one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Feel free to send more than one, different apps, and feel free to ask questions. And even if it doesn't have to be a finished artwork, even if it's something that like you probably started to do the work and then you don't know, you're just gonna have like a creative a moment in which you're stuck and you just want some inspiration, we can just use this time to briefly discuss just a part of your work. But right now is geothermia time. So I've been here on his page, but let me show you his artwork. And geothermia has done something very interesting. So I said that he's an Illustrator lover as me, but what happens here is that he sent us 2 files. So first of all, he sent us just a PNG, and he really struck a chord, childhood edition. And geothermia, I brought that out of my backpack just for you. I'm a Super Nintendo user, and I was there in 1994. I love that you put the date. So I decided to brought you my favorite game. So we have the what is it? I don't know. Is it called in English? The Pink Panther?
Yeah.
Pink Panther is La Pantera Rosa in Italian. And then Tom and Jerry, and we got the Lion King and Aladdin. So you know it kind of like era I'm talking about. So definitely we have a lot in common, Illustrator and early 90s games. Let us know in the chat which console were you playing when you were a teenager, or if you are a teenager, let us know which console are you playing on. I just suddenly felt very old in just like one sentence. But yeah.
I was all about GoldenEye in Super Nintendo and The Legend of Zelda, Mario 64.
What about PlayStation and Crash Bandicoot? I used to go around like, Crash doing this.
Yeah, that's kind of when I fell out of playing video games, around PlayStation 1, I would say. That's when I stopped playing.
Fantastic. So, Ferry has to go and prepare for his online school. Ferry, don't worry. We can catch you on the replay, catch you tomorrow. You're always here in chat. Lavani said that she used to play Atari. GoldenEye is a classic for Sam. Fantastic. Let us know in the chat. Jesus, feel free to interrupt me as many times as you want. I love to hear what the chat is saying. But what I was saying here regarding geothermia, so we saw just a PNG, and of course it caught my attention because I definitely relate to the topic. And I also thought that it was a really nice piece to rework. And then when it came to send us the file, he sent me 2 different files, a Photoshop and an Illustrator file. And as I can see here that first of all, geothermia has done an amazing job in naming this file. So as I say, I like to show off, not only rework it, definitely want to show off how organized you are, geothermia. Amazing job here. So we got details, side, and we can see that the majority of the work that it was done in Photoshop here was to create texture. So we have dust, and like I really want to show you how he did create this inner part of the card of the game. Super well done. So a lot of textures are coming in Photoshop. Hopefully I will have the time to talk you through some of my advices and tips in order to improve this design, or simply to take another direction, because it's fine as it is. I just wanted to give you my go at it. And also I wanted to show you how you can create the majority, if not all, these different textures right in Illustrator. So eventually you don't even have to jump into Photoshop for this kind of work, and maybe you can just use Photoshop at the end to mock up it. Some of the questions that Jyotirmya had when submitted his work, and let me zoom it in here because you can see I was already having a play with the work, were regarding the 3D. He says that he usually designs flat, and he was taking an approach of having something tilted. Well, I think you've done a very amazing job here. And the only thing that I would say is that when you work on a perspective and you start to have line that go in an angle, try to maintain that angle. So my eye, and that's just a detail, but my eye kind of went here into this path that you had. As you can see, the line here is coming straight. Well, if you want to respect the perspective, all you have to do is to perhaps use a tool that I've introduced very recently on my Instagram, which is the puppet warp tool. The puppet warp is just one way in which you can transform this one. There is another way, which is the free transform tool, which is also very cool.
And yeah, Kladi, you might want to move it more towards the other side because our heads are covering it.
Oh, very good call. Done. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I can see a lot of zombies. Malik saying, I love zombies ate my neighbors. Have you ever played that?
Yeah, it's a good game.
Super cool. So let's jump into the puppet work tool because it's the first one that I mentioned. Let me go back into it. And by the way, if you don't see all the tools that I have here in my toolbar, I have that question coming quite often in the chats or in private messages. All you have to do is to click on the three dots at the end of the toolbar and then click on edit toolbar and click here on the flyout menu. Let me zoom it in for you and make sure that you select advanced. So that will be an advanced workspace, and look at the difference with set to basics. All you have is the basic tool to get started with Illustrator, which is completely fine. But sometimes I do mention certain tools that are not in the basics workspace. So all you have to do is click on edit toolbar, flyout menu, advanced, done. You have access to the majority of the tool, and you can of course personalize it and customize it as you want. But let's head back.
So you're gonna work with the Puppet Warp tool, and I just want to ask the chat. I know a lot of you use it in Photoshop, but who of you uses the Puppet Warp in Illustrator, and did you know that there was a Puppet Warp in Illustrator? Let us know.
So actually, I'm going to reply to the question as well, because I used to work with the puppet warp in Illustrator, and only recently I've learned that the puppet warp is a thing in Illustrator. And I have to be honest that this guy right here, Jesus, and I just pointed out in the right side like right away. I don't know how I figured it out, but I just feel lucky. But here you are. Jesus told me like, yeah, you can use it in Illustrator, and I was like, what? So he absolutely blew my mind, and I had to do a quick tutorial right away, and which is on my Instagram, and it's on my TikTok as well under I am Kladi and Printmysoul. You can find it both in both accounts there. So what the puppet tool allows you to do is to create pin right exactly as in Photoshop, and the pins are there for two reasons. One, in order to move an object and warp the object, but also in order to stabilize it. So for example, the reason why I put this pin here where the line is, you can see it changes the color of the 3D, is because I want this pin to stay straight, and I want all this other area of my shape to stay where they are. So then I can just use this top pin and just simply tilt the top, just like so. And that's exactly what I was saying, Jyotirmya, when I was talking about perspective. You just need a little tad, but look at the difference, how much more embrace, and almost feels like is really following the line of the game here. While the other one, just by being straight, it doesn't really feel like it's indented in the game. So Michelle is saying, is there an advanced option for the tools in Photoshop as well? Jesus, just gonna pass the question to you, but I have Photoshop open here. So we
so the short answer is no, but the long answer is you can customize the toolbar. So there may be times where you have a specific workspace that may hide a tool or two. So technically the answer to your question is no, but the answer is always go ahead and reset your toolbar exactly where Kladi is going, and just make sure you reset it to default so that you can see all the tools there. But I do know that certain workspaces may hide a couple tools.
So here it is. Actually, while you were talking, Jesus, I was jumping in Photoshop and I was showing the customized toolbar. So again, all you have to do is to click on the three little arrow or the banana tool, which I don't have. Can you believe that I don't have the banana tool? I'm not
Hold shift and click on done.
Let's do this. Here it is. The banana appeared now in Photoshop. Also, we have Misty saying, help, I just tried with the advance on the toolbar and then it disappeared. Well, have you tried to go back again? Maybe you didn't click into done. So again, is these three dots here and then the fly out menu. So probably what you did, let me know if I'm wrong, you just click on the three dots and then when you click away, it disappears. So remember, click on the three dots, then click on the fly out menu and make sure that advanced is tick. Once you see the tick is next to advanced, then you know that you have it there. And also remember with the tab, if you press the tab key on your keyboard, all your workspace is going to disappear. But I can't believe we got 10 minutes left. I have so many things to say. Jotirmia, maybe we can catch up tomorrow as well. And of course...
No, we have 5 minutes just to let you know, not 10.
Oh, Sus. Thank you so much for letting me know. So I hope that you got what I was doing here. So make sure that you use the paper warp in order to fix the point that you want to make sure that they don't move. I always suggest to work with a minimum of 3 points. And then put a point and a pin in where you want to move and just stretch that in order to warp the object. And I'm going to let you finish with the third one, but hopefully you can already see the difference there. Actually, the second one is a little bit better as well. Then something else that I was having a play with while I was reworking, and that's, by the way, my final edition of the video game here. I recommend always to go and have a little look on the real thing. So besides the real game, if you don't have access to it, all you have to do is to do a little research on the internet, Pinterest, Behance. And as you can see here, all I did in order to get some inspiration on the font in particular, to have something that really talks about, you know, classics, retro games, is just to do a research. And as you can see, the 90s, the 80s were completely the opposite about right now. We're all about minimalism, no strokes, everything nice and clean. 90s were about doing it, overdoing it, putting a stroke, putting a drop shadow, and putting another color stroke, if you can, on a background with another drop shadow. So I think that mimicking that sort of style, and then there is a lot of oval and a lot of sharp edges as well. So what I did, I jumped into font.adobe.com, although you will be able to access the font right away from your properties panel by clicking on a down pointing arrow under the character panel and clicking on find more. You'll be able to activate fonts right away into Illustrator. But something that I wanted to show you that is super cool is if you go into browse fonts, and let me see if I got and then so fonts.adobe.com and then click on font pack. So if you go on browse font, you just simply search the entire library and you can narrow down with tags as well. But what I did is I went on font packs and I was browsing for maybe something vintage, maybe something that looked the way that I wanted. And something that really caught my eye was the Isle of Suns, which is a collection designed by Design Army, which is an amazing design studio based in Washington. And this font in particular really caught my eye because it reminded me of Super Mario with all the squared edge. So all I did is click on view pack, and once you click on the view pack, you'll be able to access this it's basically curated font galleries from these amazing designers from all over the world. Go and check it out. Design Army is a fantastic studio. They curated the I believe Singapore Ballet art direction photography shoot. You go and have to check it out.
And let us know in the chat what your favorite font is. I'm curious to know what.
Yes, let us know.
This
collection is super amazing. And maybe you'll find.
Also, Kladi, just giving you a 2-minute warning. We have 2 minutes before we have to sign off.
Well, we're definitely gonna start back from Jotirmia because I had more tips for him. So you can go ahead.
So we can come back. We can come back tomorrow and start with him tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. You can go ahead and activate your fonts for 180 days, or simply click on the font that you like. And just so you know, if you want to know the one that I use, Jotirmia, I used Rigid. So all you have to go is to go into View Family, and you can either activate the entire family or activate the one that you want. I went with the regular, bold, and extra bold, which is right behind Jesus here. Let me move on the other side so you can see it. So it's called Rigid Square. And you'll be able also to search it right away into Illustrator character panel. And this is this font over here. And as you can see, it just reminded me a little bit more. Then I found this lovely illustration on Adobe Stock. And I just want to show you real quick how you can browse Adobe Stock libraries directly in your Illustrator. So all you have to do is to click on the libraries panel, which you find under the window panel. And then all I did is to write vintage games or video games and press on return in order to search your Adobe Stock. So I was searching the libraries. I think that I'm going like super fast in here. Also, the new libraries add a new redo, a new look here on Illustrator. So I'm searching in my library instead of searching on Adobe Stock. That was the issue, but I think that we got 30 seconds left. That's why I'm like stumbling here. We're gonna catch it from there. No, we're gonna catch it from there tomorrow. So tomorrow we're gonna start from Geotermia. I'm gonna show you how did I found these lovely arts on the CC libraries integrated into Illustrator. Thank you so much for joining us. This time went so fast. Thank you so much, Jesus. Thank you so much to our
I just want to let
artists.
you guys know that in the chat, I just posted a link to my new tutorial, so check it out.
Fantastic. And we'll see you tomorrow here, same time with me and Jesús Ramirez on Rework It.
Rework It. Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.